Hello there, look at this. We've got a Night Warrior, Aria Pro 2 Night Warrior, another TV lemon, TV yellow lemonish colour. This is a Matsumoku, Japan. It's got a accurate bolt-on system neck bolt-on. And I've just bent the tremolo back and broken the string. Ding. But everything's in slight something of a mess. Now I brought out this strange thing, and what was I going to do? Oh yes, I was sort of, is that a bit sharp? No, it's not very sharp. I was sort of aiming to get a bit of close-ups off this camera, but it's gonna, I didn't want to get into masses of editing, but it is a good picture. So I suppose I could, let's do a couple of close-ups and see how much hassle it is to edit this in instead of t'other one. So we'll kind of keep this as the backbone, and it's good for close-ups, right? It'd be nice to just be able to get that going. Okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, come on. Yeah, touch screen to activate the camera. Okay, so we are recording the close-up. So what we've got here is a Kahler tremolo type thing, and I've never actually seen one of these in the flesh before, and it's a fairly fab looking beastie. Dive bomby, pull it back and break the string like I just did. So we're going to have a good look at that. I mean, it's working fine as it stands. What I don't know is exactly how complicated it is to set up, or whatever kinds of problems arise. I can see the intonation screws seem to make it relatively easy to do. So what have we got? We've got a 1980s heel adjusted Matsumoku guitar, nice looking neck. The frets on this are fairly big, even though there is a bit of wear down here. Get in focus, will you? Get down to a level. Now you can't see the light. We've got a locking nut here, which is, funnily enough, boosted on a bunch of pickguard material, so I don't know whether they've deliberately done that, or whether they felt that the angle was too steep before, but they've boosted it. I don't see any reason to change that. We've got two single coils, bar or rail type things, and a humbucker here, and it's all shoved under, I don't know how well you can see this, all contained in a scratch plate that is buckled crazily. So this thing is all over the place, and it feels like there's too much crammed in there. And there is, I believe, a push-pull which does absolutely nothing at all. I've tried it out and it really isn't working. So the first thing, let's have a look if we can just remove this. I don't even know whether this is a screw in. Yes, it is. Fairly standard. Sorry, bad focusing. This is called the Flyer. Oh, yeah, there you go. Kahler Flyer tremolo. It's got micro tuners here. I haven't even tried them. Yeah, they work. Nice knurled objects, US patent number such and such. Right, so we've got basically, we're going to leave the frets as are, but they will take a bit of leveling if necessary. We'll replace the nut if necessary, but if not, we won't do that. It looks pretty good as it happens at the moment, and what we're going to do is take this off and see what the heck's going on underneath here. I think we could replace these screws, are all rusted, and find out why the push-pull pot isn't doing anything at all. Okay, so he says stopping that one for the time being. We'll see how it works. So let us stripped looking fellas here, so we're going to need to find something that fits, but we also may have to find some new ones of these, because these could be worn out. They're looking a bit worn. It's quite a common thing for a guitar of this age. The hex thingies here, concav. Now there's no back panel here, so all the tremolo fittings are done on this side. So however it works from here. So at the moment I'm going to just take the strings and lower them down because I don't have any other information tells me that it has to do it in any other way. Now, first things first, this is not the right size key, and I have a feeling that means it's could be an imperial key. Yeah, and that could be a problem. Let's have a look. Yeah, somebody's done that in the past. So without a metric, sorry, without a imperial key, this isn't going to work. Now I wonder, in this big pile of bits here, whether we actually happen to have one floating around. It's always worth a check. If not, I'm going to disappear off camera and go and panic, because if we don't have a decent imperial key, we are not going to be able to get these off. I've got a set somewhere, I just got to find them. Got too many of the same thing, that's another problem in here. So if I did have one in here, I probably wouldn't know where it was anyway, since there are so many duplicates. What's this one? No, that's symmetric. So yeah, imperial keys. Just about everything in this pile will be metric. Yep. Because there are very few things. I'd have to probably go and buy a separate set to get the imperial ones. I don't keep a ready. Well, I don't think I've got a set of imperial ones. I don't think I've got a complete set. Okay, so these are. This will be a bit fruitless going through this pile of stuff. So I think I'll go off camera, come back if I find one. If not, then we're going to have to go on to a bit of a hold until I get out and about tomorrow and find me an imperial set. And it's made a load of mess. I should really chuck a load of these away, because having more than you need is a bit pointless. I do have some hex keys sitting in somewhere here. Bills, hex bolts in my flat bits. And more hex keys in here. Does it say hex keys? Something keys. Oh, I might have said Allen keys. Yes, not much room. I can't remember what's in this box now. Probably some hex keys actually, but why there'd be an imperial one in here particularly. Mind you, some exotic things live in here, so you never know. You see? See? Look at that. The first one I come to is the exotic hex key. Now I'm going to need to put some markings on that so we know what it is for future reference. Get in there, 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 get on there, get in there, get in there, stay there, do that, do this, do that. Everything is falling to bits because it's such a tiny shed. I need more space. Still. Right, so these are worn at the top, but they are workable further down. There we are. Now you can buy these. They're not that hard to get. You just have to know what the measurements are. So all isn't totally lost. It's not like there's some exotic thing. Sometimes when we see a guitar like this, we panic because we just think that's it. It's missing one of these types of countersunk bolts, and then we think we can't do anything. We're doomed. And actually, this isn't that bad. So I've managed to replace some in the past, but it can be quite difficult unless you're an engineering type, and you can let me just think of something. You can, now to finish the sentence, you can find yourself buying a few different ones before you get it right. Now this is just broken. I don't know what the gauge was on here. By the way, that mirror up there was to help me if I was using the camera over there so I could see what was on the screen. So 42, so that looks like a 9 set, so we could use this one for a minute. I'm just trying to think, because we could do the it's not a 9. Looks like a bit of a mixed set going on here, but depends on what this reads as. It says it's kind of saying 42, but I'm not really sure. But let's put another one on. And the reason I'm saying this is that even though we've got loads of exciting exploration to do, it probably makes more sense that we take care of any fret issues right now while this thing is got some strings on it, and we can use them obviously then as sacrificial strings. Otherwise we end up using a whole new set of strings. Now the thing about this tremolo, because I don't know how it works, well, what I can see is it's just dropped its little ball. Thank you. So we can hook that out. Yes. The ball snapped off and went in there, but it is kind of sensible in that you dip the ball in there and just pull forward and it goes over the roller. So actually it seems to make things quite easy. So let's do some work with the action down that end, set a low action, and then we can get on and fret level it, and then worry about all its mysteries below the surface afterwards. Okay, so I'm going to just basically lock on excuse me, lock on this string now. What I'll do is when it tightens up, I'll just give it a bit of a stretch, but then we'll come on, hook over please. Not too far. You in? Yes, thank you. Yeah, we'll just give it a little bit of a pull, and then we'll lock everything down again and tune everything up. While I'm at it, I can sort of pull most of these back out to their initial positions. Quite difficult to figure out where that is, because sometimes you have to go one way and rarely go one way and usually the other way, if you get what I mean. Ooh, that's because I took that off. Now I don't know how this reaches equilibrium, so I'll have to figure that out later on, but meanwhile let's just lock these down again for the purpose of setting the action. And so with our nice imperial hex key that definitely fits, we can lock it down. It's a nice unit, this locking nut bit here. I don't quite know what these bolts are pressing on, but whatever it is pressing on seems to do a good job. Okay, now what we don't know is, well, maybe we can assume this is the American imperial key for these little adjusters down here. Let's have a look and see what the action is. Fairly high, well, yeah, it's about 0.2. So let's have a look and see. Okay, so this is what I was interested in, to see whether this action is already flat out on the deck, close to it. I think, let's have a look. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. 0.2. It's about as low as we can go. But it would help if this was actually in the saddle part. Okay, so we are 1.75. Okay, so we're on the deck down there for that one, and to get any better action out of it we would need to shim this neck very slightly. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and I'll do it, let these all off a minute, and we'll just slack all the strings off, and we'll get a very small shim. It is very small, that one, very thin I should say. In fact, that's tiny. That's a 0.3 of an inch, or in French money, is that a tenth of a mil? It's extremely light, but don't matter. Now I'm interested in how this reaches equilibrium, because if we take this all off now, or slack it all off in order to undo the neck, presumably this has dropped back to a fixed position. It's kind of gone, it's now sticking against the underside of or the back end of the body, and I don't know how that mechanism works, so I don't know how easy it will be to get it back into equilibrium. Now, just looking at this, that's a very small, very thin shim, so it might be worth tipping all this out for a minute and checking out something like a piece of tin as an option, as an optional one, and this will be 0.25, so I think we'll go for that. I need to get some more because I'm very low on. There's another little piece of tin. I used to have various thicknesses of brass, but it's good to have some of this sheet, very thin sheet metal around, because it does make good shims. I think this will be about the minimum, 0.25. So here we go. Super accurate. It's called super accurate bolt-on system. Not just your average crappy bolt-on system, but a super accurate one. Looks like it's been mangled a bit. I forgot about this. That's what happens, isn't it? Oh, yeah, well, okay. We'll hook them all up. So, what we've got is we have got a shim that isn't going to, it's not going to like those holes, because they are a bit mangled. So let's cut them down a bit. Cut it down a bit. Okay, it is clear of the holes, it's official. Right, we're going to get all 6 strings somehow beautifully hooked into their homes. Like this, come on, I somehow doubt it. It's quite a pull. 1, 2, maybe 3. Stay there. No. What? Oh, it's gone underneath. See, the problem is, if you tighten one of them up, the others drop out, and so on, and so on. Well, it was a good idea at the time. I don't think it's going to work, is it? No, it's just going to go on forever. I think what I need to do is just pull these and let some out. So the first bit here is just getting the action, giving us enough scope for a slightly raised action. Otherwise, we're just stuck with what we've got. So since we're doing setup on it, we might as well get it to where we want it to be and not where we're giving it. It wasn't too bad, but it is higher than I would want. Now you know this is still not, neck isn't screwed in, but we're hoping that the shim is still in place. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. And then what I'll do is just once these are, that won't happen, come on, where have you gone, round the top, thank you. Once we've got these in and just hooked in place, then I will hold the neck in place and do up the bolts. Okay, so nicely held in place around the back. Chunky. Come on. Thank you. Right. So now we have, it looks like we're just lifted up enough now to touch down on the last fret. So that means we now can make some upward adjustments on the saddles here, which gives us back some options. These are quite a bit stiff, so we need to be careful. Okay. Actually, maybe that 0.25 is a fraction more than we'd want, but we can always come back and adjust down if we need to. Could probably do with some grease down in these little units here. This will probably rise up as well. No, actually that's fixed height, that's good. And hey, that gets over the perennial Strat style problem where when you raise the tremolo up into action you get an increased playing action. So that's quite a nifty solution to that. So I'm just going to leave this at 0.25 at the minute, the shim I put in, but we go back down to a lower one afterwards. We'll see how it feels. It doesn't matter either way. If it works really well, we'll leave it as is. We'll just get some adjustments first. Yeah, so it's definitely a US Imperial style. Key needed. Okay, so right now we have them all back on. Now I don't think, because it's balanced, I don't think this is going to tune up normally in sort of relative tuning, so I think we have to use the tuner probably. We shall see. Let's see. No. You expect it to go out of tune because it's a pivot. So we can just tune it up with this. Right now the tuning isn't so important. Oh, I forgot where the jack socket was. Tuning isn't critical, but we do want to, we might as well get it where in the tension the way we want it. Undo these again, give us back tightening up room. I'm assuming up is what we need most of all, but that's what we're doing. Not only wasn't the switch working, the pull push switch, but the tone pot didn't seem to work either. Nearly there. Come on. Okay, let's say we lock it down there. Wow, is that stripped? That is stripped, isn't it? Wow, 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 there's an interesting thing. What has happened there? Ladies and gentlemen, that has stripped right round. Wonder why that is. How weird. That's a problem. Yep, that's stripped. Okay. Right, so number one problem. So we're back to square one. My nice idea of, I'm going to have to see what this needs doing to it now. So much for getting on track. Okay, so this first one is gone through and it's not biting on this piece on the underside, so I don't know why that is. This one could be alright, but I don't know. So we're going to have to look and see what's stopping it. So we're going to have to take this unit off altogether now, which means these strings are going to have to come off. Which is going to be a bit of a pain. So, oh well. So much for my simple challenge of getting it levelled and the action set with no further problems. I wonder if this has got something to do with this extra card or scratch plate under here that might be stopping it. I don't know why it would, but I'm going to have a look now at the quality of the... right. Okay, so it pushes down on these little babies onto... Wow. That is mashed. How did they do this? One piece, two pieces. What the hell? Somebody's kind of made this up. That's right, so that's what happened. This is stripped. Yikes. Okay. Ooh. I've got a little device here that's been handmade of some kind, and it's worn out. So, in order to, I'm going to have to either improvise with something else or see if we can't find something that will work with this. But the trouble is I don't quite know how it works yet. I have a feeling that I don't really have a feeling. The typical locking nut presses down on the little hat things, which pushes onto the strings and stops them from going anywhere. This little fella is just a lump. Right, this is one of those. Hey, can we have a look at it on the big telly? No, the close up. Video. Yeah, so I can't get much closer. We take this out, maybe. No. All right. So, boop. Photo. Yeah, thanks a lot. That's really useful. Okay. So what have we got? Right, we have got a unit that sat like that. We've got one of these blocks that I guess connected to this somehow. Where's the US hex key gone? Oh, lordy me. Okay, completely lost my marbles now. The US gauge hex key, not there, not there, not there. Where's it gone? Red handled thing. Oh my god. I didn't need it anyway, but that's not the point. The point is it's vanished. Okay, right. So we have this lump of metal, we have this thing underneath, right? This appears to, no, it doesn't appear anything. It doesn't appear to be, there's a bit of pressure squeezed on there. But this kind of sits over that, like that. And this goes into there like that. And all I'm presuming at this point is that we pull the string under here. I don't know how well you can see this. So let's put a white thing under there, shall we? Put the string under there. Now watch what should happen. The plastic should come up and squeeze the string, right? Yeah. Plastic, sorry, not plastic. The metal comes up and squeezes the string. See that? I can't keep it. Let's try and keep it still. Right, keep it still, Sam. Come put it somewhere you can see it. Velcro when you don't need it. Okay, so stay still. Right hand, stay still. God lordy. See that coming up, down, up. That pulls it up against there. So we're getting string held between the metal of the little block that's rising. Oh Christ! Metal of the block that's rising and the underside. And all that happened then is that this one is made of 2 bits. So for some reason this bit didn't want to bite or pull. So I don't know if that's because it stripped one of them or one of them's no good. But it went in there and it just didn't do anything. So this is, in a way, this is fixable with 3 more bits of metal of this size. And that doesn't actually want to go through there at all, which is quite interesting. So I don't know if that's the dodgy one. It's not really going to work very well with these 2 separate distances, are they? So I don't know why they've used 2. If it's still going to do exactly the same thing in principle, right? Even though it's a different size, we go. Oh lordy. Let's go through there. Put this one on the back there. Turn our thing. Pull it, and eventually it comes up and slams against the underside. Locks tight. So I think what's happened, rather stupidly, now I've lost the 3rd one, there it is. I think what's happened is the fact that they've used 2 of these little plates, when in fact you only need 1. But if you use 2 and they get out of shape with each other, then what happens is you can't do them up, and it just stops them working. So I think that was their mistake. So as it stands, this one doesn't really want to go through this one at all just yet. It's telling me that it's kind of saying that's the wrong size or in the wrong place. It could well be the fact that it's in the wrong place. But yeah, the 2 little bits is the mistake. There was no need to have 2 little pieces. This one doesn't want to go through, so I'm just going to take that off there. I'm going to see whether this has damaged the end of here. Put that in there, and I'm getting a resistance. So this one doesn't feel like going at all. Maybe it's been damaged from working with the 2 sheets together. Okay, prefers that way round. But the only reason why you would want a thicker one is because you don't want it bending around the strings. But if we were to do this whole thing and put the thinnest one, because I'm not going to use 2 again, because that's what's causing it to skip. It's not biting, but look, this is tight as anything. That one's tight as anything, and this little thinner one now is tight as anything. Just sticks further through. But that will hold the high E perfectly well. So they should be equally spaced, and we should be able to just put it back. I can't remember which way around it was now. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to leave that little thing out of it. Ta-da! So it's possible, after that faff around, we could just slack this off. Make sure we know which end the thin one is. If we wanted to, we could make another one of these and cut a thread for it. If I was going to do that, I'd probably make, I don't know, maybe make a whole bunch of different ones, and we would we could redo the gauge, or the what's the word? Not the gauge. What's that word we're looking for? Yeah, the size of them. We could have metric ones instead if we were going to go that far. But let's get this in place. Let's just check we've got the thin one at this end again. Yep, thin one at the treble end. simply because it's not doing so much work. That may not have been the right way round the first time, but that's okay. Okay, so we can put that one on there. Wants to go spinning, so that's not very good. In fact, all of them seem to want to go for a spin. So we need something else to happen there, really. I mean, it'll probably work for now. So let's see if we can put this back together again. Look. Aha, there it went. This is a bit of a pain now, because we've got to get this under here. So there's no separate gap for these. I think, realistically, I'm going to make this work. We're going to have to chop these back a bit. Stand a hope of threading this through a bit easier. Dreams of a big, tidy workshop. Right. That's the problem. A little sharp, turned up end of string just wants to catch on everything. Right. I'm going to go under here and through there, please. I'm not very good with bent strings, I have to say. Come on now. Theoretically, I got this back to front. There should be enough room. It's exactly the same. Tell me that's the same. No, kind of. Fiddle, fiddle, faddle. So we've got another problem now, which is this not very well fitted screws, but we can, I think we can put some new wood in there. That should probably fix that. Oh my god, this is so difficult. It all looked good when it was new, I'm sure, back in the 80s. Right, let's just stick on there. Thank you. So that's now tucked in there, which is not going to be any good. Thank you. Yeah, big fat fiddle. Right, so maybe we can get back to where we were, but we also know we've got a few more things to take care of a bit later on. Namely, the screws on the locking nut being a little bit on the dodgy side. That won't help, will it? Oh, for crying out loud. Stay there. Thank you. We will get there, we will get there. I promise you we will get there. So yeah, it's quite often the way that the minute you start doing something like this, you suddenly find all the problems that it's storing up for you. And what seemed like a fun, easy job suddenly becomes a vintage nightmare. Hope it doesn't get any worse, but we shall see. Let's just hope the strings last long enough to do this test play and fret level if we need any. So now we've got the action back to a range of action that we can set, which we didn't have before, and then we've discovered the limitations of that whilst discovering how it actually works, which is very simple. I think I've got it right, because we'll find out in a minute if it actually holds the strings or not. Oh, come on, lock round, would you please? Play that game with me. Thinnest one, thinnest one. Oh, don't do that yet. Get that through there first. Yeah, it's funny why somebody's used 2 bits of metal instead of 1. Maybe they lost a piece originally, from the original setup, and then just couldn't find anything else workable. This is always tricky. Get this. Can't do 2 things at once. I want to get this to hold it so it stays on and doesn't unwrap like this. Stay. If you find it comes undone. Yep, look at that. Isn't it hateful? Can't actually stop it coming undone, even if you lock it round in that nasty way that I hate when people do. But you can try. Really got the tools to do that bit either. Go on, lock round there or something. Anyway, we can get it done up once so we can lock it off. But so, longer bit because we didn't even cut that off. That was the E. Run that through there. Back into there. Right. Okay, so we go back 10 steps to the tuning game. Take a note just in case. Always like to know audibly where we are. Okay. Do I hate these things? I get them on the bloody saddles. Right, now let's test out the theory. This one should lock. Now it's stripped that little piece of metal. That's the problem. Okay, too thin, and it's stripped it. So that's that stuffed. We have to make another one, but the problem is we probably haven't got the imperial thread for this. So back at very much square one. Animation. I'll have a look. Okay, so we're going to take these off again, which means we're going to lose this. We're going to lose these strings basically till we get this bit figured out. So, oh well. Didn't expect it to be quick, did you? So that's all of this is pretty much knackered now. We can call it. Off with that, out with that. Okay, so I might as well just cut these strings because I don't think we're going to get them on again. Damn it. Okay, so all very cool. Can't do it with this thin stuff because that is stripped proper. So we need to figure out another solution. I wonder if I have something I can modify. Come on. Right, I'm going to shut down for a minute because I've got quite a bit of working out to do. This is, look at the state of this. It's all mashed up. Okay, well, it's a nice idea, and we're just short of, these are okay, but we need some blocks that are better than that, and we need an imperial thread to work. Alright, see you in a while, I guess. Thanks, just drag some wires around with me. Why don't you? Well, just a quick catch up. What I've chosen to do is replace it with a different kind, but more usable, a little locking nut device, standard thing, and it uses a hex key, metric hex key as well. So we have here everything we need. A slightly modified one in the middle to fit, because it's a specialist headpiece, but it does exactly what the other one does. And as you'll be able to see in a second, it's also screwed into nice new holes. So there you have your everything locking down nicely. There you go, and that comes up into exactly the right place. Perfect, and it matches the pickguard as well. So this historical piece of stuff, and it doesn't need the lifter, because it's a built already lifting one, and then we can fill these holes when the time comes as well. Now what I kind of wanted to do was go backwards into string land to do the setup. What I don't have is, I need some, thanks, I need some sacrificial strings, and I seem to have a lot in the 11 departments, about 9, okay. I'll set it up with some scrap 9s, courtesy, as always, of SSS, Simon's Sacrificial Strings Department. So, I guess while I'm at it, let's see if we can just get this working first of all. Go back in time and get it working, and then we'll take it from there. But I guess it's a test to see if it works first. So we'll just have these off, out of the way. Don't know how well you can see from there. There we are, sort of. Right, well, it's a bit quicker solution than I had expected. I thought we were going to have to be making bits of extra this, that and the other. But the point being is, this is, it started out as an imperial device, and now we're going to end up leaving these as metric, which just makes things a bit easier really. It does the same job, although it's, you know, a different creature. That thing looks, I'm not even sure that thing would have been original anyway, because I can't imagine it had been lifted up with a chunk of scratch plate. That's a bit home solved. Anyway, so let's just see how this gets on. So what we'll do, just for the fun of testing, where do things go? Holy moly. It's incredible, isn't it? I just took off, there it is. It's only a desk, you can't lose too much on a single desk. Anyway, okay, so here are these loosely on. We can still tune either side of that, and it's ready to be locked off as and when. So that is a very quick and appropriate solution. Okay, so it's not the original. Tough. I'm not really, I mean, I think it costs too much time to spend rebuilding an actual original one of those. And we'll just add a load of price or cost to Beach's bill, which we can do without. And this, you can have this piece for free. So it's probably a good solution really when you look at it from that perspective. Okay, so going back in time, the idea about this is to get this strung up with our, in this case, sacrificial strings, and then we'll set the action, fine tune the action. That didn't work, did it? Fine tune the action, and then we'll check and see if it needs any fret leveling, in which case we'll do it at this stage. And then once the neck is good and we're happy with the action, the shim, and the way this nut unit's working, then we can strip it all back for various things like things that need fixing. Now I'm just noticing this will hold them down, but they're going to be pulling them down onto this headpiece here. So they don't by default want to lock off here yet, but they will. It may be I may have to sand off the front of that one because it may be too still sharp. I'm sure I did before, but we'll just double check it. It's the one in the middle. It's not a custom one. That's all I'm saying. That came off the back of another one of Beach's guitars that didn't need it. It was a sort of, I think it was trying to be an Allen key holder, but it wasn't. It was like a locking nut being used, repurposed. Anyway, I reused two of those little things that were on there because they work perfectly in this setup. But there wasn't a third, and so we've used an old, slightly filed down one from another time. But it'll be fine, unless it snaps it off, in which case I'll know I need to sand it and fine sand it so it doesn't have a sharp edge on it, because it is pulling against the strings there in order to lock them off. Right, good colour. Who would have thought it? We've got back on this quickly. Got two guitars came today that I have to go and double check and unpack to make sure they're all in good nick and they are the right ones and so on. Okay, so those are on, but I'm not going to tighten them up just yet. We'll do chuck the rubbish. We will put these out of the way and then we'll tune up with the tuner again. Missed. Probably had enough for today nearly, but anyway, at least we got going. So I'll give them a bit of a pull to begin with, get the most stretchiness out of them. Okay, we'll take a note to begin with. And run with the tuner after that. That's out of the way. Thank you. bit of a pull. So they'll stay in tune mostly. Wow, that doesn't feel like the right string at all. I think I've got these the wrong way round. Still, oh well, too late now. Let's just lock it down, see where we are. Down we go. Down we go. Okay, so that one now needs to start a bit. It holds them, presses them in a different way from the last one. So now we have to reset them, retune them, because they squeeze them further down now. It's quite a bit of pitch increase. Now, lock it down, lock it down, lock it down. Not much travel. Okay, I'm going to hold that there for a minute. Now I'm going to get the American thing again. We're going to just double check this action. Just over 1.5. Where's the adjuster? Thank you. And this will of course need retuning. Just under 1.5. Just under 1.5. Down a little bit. That one's good. This one's down. Right. Okay, a little bit there. Let's double check the heights. Just under 1.5, 1.25, 1 point. It's nice and low all the way. Okay, now a quick check on the relief. Very little. We might want to tweak that. We're not going to get to it with anything. I certainly don't think we're going to get to it with this device. Maybe we will. Ooh, look at that creaking noise. Right, well, it will do a very light fret leveling, but very light. Slight problem, maybe problem. Can we get it out here? Just out the way. What I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to mark it up now. I'll take a bit of time, but I think we'll do the leveling, and then afterwards we'll leave the rest for tomorrow. Because I've got to go and check these other guitars out in the house. So it's been played, well played, this guitar. It's got lots of wear all the way up. So if we're going to do any leveling, it's going to have to be very gentle, and it's really just to try and free up those buzzy bits on the low strings. The bends seem to be okay. Frets seem to have probably levelled themselves, if not been levelled. They may have levelled themselves from being played all those years. You sometimes get that. I don't mind getting mark pen on all of these strings because they're only sacrificial ones anyway. It's easier than slacking them off, and we can do more when we get down here. I can see that they're flattened off on top anyway, so they've either been levelled before or they've just played flat over the years. For something of this age, it wouldn't be surprising at all if it just played flat from wear, which is quite a good thing because it gets most of the high points gone. But we shall see. And then once I've done this, I'm going to take everything off and we'll sort out the holes up that end, and we'll also take a look at the finish holes on the other side, because I've got some what's that word, that stuff called TV yellow, which might work well to cover up or to patch some holes that are right down to the primer at that end on the other side. So as you can see, some big chunks, so I should be able to, with a bit of luck, be able to just cover them up. It's not going to be a repair as such, but it will be a covering of blemish sort of thing. Now, I I'm going to use this one, I think. Just got a feeling about it. It says use me. Now I'll need that one. Might just be able to go flat enough. This truss rod doesn't go completely flat, so it's only good for slightly curved necks, which I think this one will be. In fact, it's not quite enough. Take another quick check. Okay, that's improved it. Right, but still, if that's not cool, I'll try it one more time with this one, but if not, I'll go to the other one, which is just as good. Probably got fresher sandpaper on it anyway. Okay, so now we've got to the right curvature. It's very precise. That's too rounded still, too curved. Okay, there we have it. Now to make this work, I've got to get this out of the way if I can, this one out of the way if I can, try and separate it out, them out with something, a bit down this end. To be fair, the high notes are the best ones on here, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. It will show up the wear, the gouges, grooves is the word I'm looking for. It also shows up the spots anywhere they've been, or the frets have been levelled. You can see it pretty quickly. You suddenly think, God, did I just level that? And the answer is no, that's already been levelled to that point. So. But it can be quite nerve-wracking if you've not seen it before, because you think you've just suddenly done that, which you haven't. Ow, that hurt. Might need a slightly wider bit of wood one of these days. Now we're in the B track. Yeah, this 13th fret is already being hammered quite heavily. It's low, and there's a spot of low ones up here, which could be having a bit of an effect on things. It's not too bad. Yeah, it shows up immediately the ones that have been heavily hit, and this 13th fret was once upon a time very high, and somebody's levelled it, which is it's quite a good sign. So somebody's taken some interest in getting this to play well. We're doing 3 meaning G. If you're using a truss rod that's shorter than the whole neck, which I am, I regularly am, then it's going to clatter when it hits the end frets. Don't be worried about that. It's also because of the relative lowness of these frets, or the age of these frets, the fact that I'm not trying to, well, I'm primarily trying to make sure they're level. I'm not interested in, I'm not primarily trying to take down or remove this wear. Silly me, hang on. I'm not trying to remove this wear on the lower frets. So the way I look at it is, if we do remove any of that during this leveling process, then that's great if we clean up that wear, but I'm not going after that as an end in itself because it's too expensive in fret metal for what is still at this stage only a cosmetic issue. It's just, it looks a certain way. I can't get this one out of there, it's too tight. Thank you. And that one's come out of there, form back in. Thank you. Yeah, so it's important to note that there's very rarely will I go after this wear for its own sake. Only when it gets in the way of playing is it worth doing that. And it has to be really bad before it does that, surprisingly. Now I'm expecting to see a bit more wear up here now, which I am. This nut isn't bad actually. That's not bad. Okay. Flattening out as we get to this side. The relief is flattening out, I should say. Can't get this to stay out, I can try. It's the only thing downside about a locking nut, is it costs you your fingernails. Look at that, ripped. Yeah, locking nut, you can't spread the strings adequately at that end, so you have to kind of work around it. Not too difficult. Yeah, a little low patch here, but I think we've probably got it all down as low as it needs to go. And we'll just finish off this low E track. Bit right at the top there. Try and get rid of that. Oh. Yep, there's high ones at the end there. There we go. That's what I'm going to give it. That's all the levelling it's going to get. So by the time we polish it out and polish the frets out and reprofile them, and polish them out, they'll be nice and shiny looking. So at this point, we're going to chuck these strings away. And the plan for this is to take it apart and try and iron this flat, because it's buckled, but I need to find out why it's buckled, so it won't really be, you won't be able to find out that until we're under the covers and find out what made it like that. I suspect too much wiring plus partly the reason why it's also not working. I think something's too much in there for its own good. Now something just fell off there, which I don't know what it is, so I'm going to have to go hunting for it with the torch. Which I put up here. That's my little bit of wood. Okay, I'll leave it there for now. So I can see where it's cramped the strings to lock them. It's actually made them look like flat wound strings at that point. So it's, whoops, there go the strings, because they just fall straight off, don't they? They're, it's quite a destructive process to clamp them anyway, whichever way you do it. Still. Okay, so this next part of the process, which I'm not going to show today, but I'll do the recrowning and the marking it ready for polishing out. Actually, no, I'm not even going to polish it out yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to recrown it, and then I'm going to, we'll next go into the taking it apart stage and see what we've got under the hood and what's causing all that bulging business. Somewhere down here is a little bit of wood. Where's my little bit of wood? For a little piece of wood. Right, let's get these out of the way. Possibly use them again as sacrificial strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One's upside down for starters. 6. Could use these on this one if we needed to. So I'll hang them over here for a minute. Right, so while we're at it, let's colour these over again. Let's wipe off as much of the dust as we can for a minute. And then I'm going to I'm going to cover these in marker again, and then use the crowning file. I use the medium side on this one, I think, and then reshape these as well as we can, and then they'll be ready for later on sanding and polishing out. So these aren't showing up as having touched at all, so there's definitely some low ones, but then a couple of high ones at the end, which is interesting. Okay, so medium. You can even see a bit of wear at this end. So whoever's played this has played it all over the neck, which is really good. A good sign. Where it's been levelled before, it hasn't been, frets haven't been re-profiled, it's been left flat on top. Always do that, run off the end. there. Ow! Right, so that's the re-crowning done, which has tidied up the flattened frets from a previous go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a box for parts, because I think we need to start collecting the spare stuff that we're not going to use with this and hide it away, or keep it if somebody wants to return it to what it was. But we need a little plastic container or 2 or 3. The no longer used parts. Then we can take this off so we can clean up take care of some of this. I'll try and fill these and then maybe touch up the tops with paint, but it's not going to be much better all round. Again, these are major bits of damage from old. We can take this apart. Still going to need to wick all of this out. Probably don't need to do anything with the tremolo, which is good. So we'll leave that bit. Always a danger with old guitars like this. You start taking things off to clean things and things sort of give up. It's only when you take them off that they fall apart and say, I can't do it anymore. 30 odd years, had enough. But we shall see. This one doesn't want to come up. There's bits of paint missing everywhere. Alright, that's already been filled with something. Shim over there. Right, take these off. Ew, mangled. As you can imagine, some totally mangled holes. Right, let's see what we've got. Rusty as hell. Okay, somebody's screwed that straight into wood. So am I to imagine this always had a humbucker? Ugh. Okay, so that goes straight through the plastic into the wood. Ew. So then that drops out neatly. We've got a supposedly a thingy connector to the bridge. Oh, there we have it. The old beastie. Full of grime. And the old tremolo, which I'd actually like to see through here. So let's have a look, shall we? Since we don't know how it works. Oh, this would be a time for this, wouldn't it? Hello, video. Hello, video. Have a look, have a look, have a look. No photo, well done. We're running. Ooh, well, it's not exactly close up, but it's a good view, I should suppose. Wow, say hello to the Kahler tremolo. Neat, neat, neat. Yeah, that's how it works. That's a neat little unit. I mean, grimy. If I'm bored, I'll do some cleaning. Ooh, there's some frightening amount of belly button fluff in there. Okay, so that's a challenge in itself. Put that over there for a minute. But a bigger challenge in some ways is this little pile of stuff here. As I say, we've got a switch that isn't doing anything. Can't see how it does anything. What's it switching? Who knows? Well, I might have to rewire this to make it do what it's supposed to do, because right now that is, it might be ground, no, yes, it's supposedly grounding or shorting out this one here, but it could be lacking in a ground connection. It's supposed to be grounding through this plate, but I don't think it is, which is why it's not coil splitting it. I don't know what it says on here. I can't quite read it. MMK 45. These are quite cool. Look at those. Big screws sticking out the back. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's the reason why this doesn't split, because this is the only grounding is happening through this shieldy bit here, but it may not even be doing that. unless I can. We can replace that. That's okay. Top one, I would have done it in the middle and grounded it to the other one, but it's the other way around. Maybe if we just earth this to here and bypass that, we might find it come back to life. Let's just see, just for fun. I don't know if we'll be able to tell very easily. Thank you. So it's not splitting, that's for sure. If that was it, the only thing I could find on it said it called it a split, coil split. So if it's not doing that and it's supposed to, then the rest is a history. Let's get a couple of these little cables out. And for this purposes, what I'm going to do is I am going to ground this little pot here, thank you, to the ground here. Let's see if now that makes any difference. Ha ha ha! Gone. Hang on. No, that is now only half running. Ooh, that's interesting. So without that ground, both sides of the coil are running, however it's set. And I wanted to basically ground the pot. Yeah, ground the pot. So I stuck it from here up to the earth. Now the pot is grounded. That's interesting. That's working now. That's amazing. So humbucker, both coils. Oh, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. Humbucker. Click it. That one's off. That one's on. Get rid of this ground loop. Both on, because it's not grounding the coil split. Yay! Well, here we are with a few things to note. I flattened this pickguard, which has actually shrunk over time, which is why it's buckled, because it's pulled. It's shrunk and it's pulled in certain directions, which is folded up other directions. So, I'm reusing it, flattened it, and I've filled the original holes in the body so that we can put it down on a new footing, if you like, so to speak. Now, what I've noticed in all of this, these joints weak. These wire fittings are very, very weak on this, on the pickups and the various things here, and they're looking like they're coming off. They're also a bit too long, so we can clean them up. Now, this is working, this push-pull, and actually, bizarrely, I don't have a replacement, so I'll use the original. I was going to replace it with the push-push, but it's not broken, so I'm not going to fix it. And also, as it happens, bizarrely, I don't have a push-push switch to hand. I don't know quite how, because I normally do. Anyway, so what we've got to do is just fix up a bit of these. Now, sheep outside. There's a few things that look like they've just come unhinged. So that's a weedy little wire if ever I saw one. But this doesn't help because this is flopping about all over the place. We can't really find a way of adequately keeping that in place, we can try. So we want to recondition the end of this because it's a bit manky, as we would say. So today is Tavistock's special, what do they call it, Dickensian evening happening, which is where all the vendors and traders in the town, sundry townsfolk, kitted out in Victorian garb and have an oldie style Christmas do in town, which is cool. I've never actually been to it in all the years I've lived in Tavistock, I'm ashamed to say. So with that guilty confession in mind, we're going to go down there later on and hopefully take my old dad out for a bit of a trip out in his chair, but it does depend on finding adequate parking. I've gone and chopped that too thin, so what do we need? We don't need that much anyway. I need a flat surface to cut that on, not a spongy surface. Anyway, yes, so that's the plan later on. We're going to go in and we've got to find a blue disabled parking space because they shut all the roads off in the town, but hopefully you'll enjoy that and get out and about. So this wire here is just an additional wire I'm going to add in to ground the pot that wasn't grounded, which was causing the non-functioning of the tone pot, which is this one. Everything else about it should be alright. I'm just going to really go through and check all these other bits and pieces that are looking a bit on the flimsy side as far as solder joints go. So for example, that one, clear that out. We'll put a bit of solder on the edge here for our new earth wire. It's actually difficult, it's not transferring the heat through enough to there. Let's do it on the side of the pot. Quite difficult to do. Is this thing still running? Yeah, it is. That is odd. Maybe it's something about the age of the component. Look at this. Look, this humbucker is trying to fall out because it's not being held in by this piece of tape. Tape? That's right, tape. Go to there, and we'll bring it, this one, up to here. It's actually too long really, but we'll bring it through here, sort of out of the way. Not too hot. So the plan, I'm planning, hoping to go and do some soldering, routing down at my friends in the salvage place in Tavistock on Monday. I've put out a little request saying, can I come down and play? Which in reality just means I set up in a corner of the steptoe and son style workplace and do my thing. Okay, so we have a couple of things. We have a thing here that's completely loose, and that is the one that goes across to the go across to the tone. Well, that's why the tone wasn't working, but the switch reason for not working was different. So we've got a couple of reasons, a couple of problems in there. I didn't see this at first, but having taken it out, I now can see how the this jumper across from the input from the switch, the input to the volume pot, that jumper across to the tone had come adrift, which is why that wasn't working, and the reason why this wasn't working is because it wasn't grounded, which I've now done. So the slightly tricky bit, having already tightened this up, is that this one has to go into here, and I would like to pull off some of the old stuff so I can get under there in such a way as not to damage anything else. Rubbish. Very dodgy. Well, that has actually cleared it, and this has got a bit more movement in it than I realised because I haven't tightened it up yet, which is probably handy. So this needs to go through here, ideally in some sort of way that we can get out afterwards. This one is actually redundant, so we could snip that off, which would get it out of the way of this one a little bit. It's quite difficult to get hold of this bit in here that we have. Come on. It's back to that old thing I was saying before, that the enemy of soldering or wiring in guitars is movement. It's as simple as that. It just will not stand it. Oh God, get in there. And if it's got movement, these pots can move, then it will split and break apart eventually. No doubt about it. Right, that's that out of the way. This isn't needed, so this can actually come off, if it will. Oh, forgot that. Thank you. This annoyingly only holds in place when the hole is on top of the fitted on the guitar. In fact, it comes through this way, obviously. Maybe that will squeeze it in place. Maybe it won't. We could try and stick it down on this side for a minute. A bit hopeful. Okay, we've got a repair to do. One of the wires has come off the single coil here, and I'm hoping that's fixable. But meantime, put this down. Let's put this through here where it needs to go. Incredibly fine little wire this is. This is the coil split, and it's only a one wire coil split, which is, if you've not seen one of those before and you're expecting two wires, it can be a little bit on the confusing side. But it's a kind of, it's one way of doing it. They in some of these pickups, they extend a wire off from the midpoint of the coil. Sorry, they break, they intervene. Where's the thing gone? Okay, I can't find it. Yeah, so they take a wire and bring it out rather than bring two out together. It's a perfectly acceptable way of doing it. Works absolutely fine. It just can look a little bit confusing if you're not used to just seeing one wire and you're expecting the pair to come out on more modern, or some more modern guitars. Okay, so we've got that there. That's a bit flimsy. Let's tuck that back in there because we don't want that to move anymore. We'll trust that those are okay for now. We're earthed down there. The switch is earthed. This doesn't seem to be any problem. That seems to still be working. We've got a broken separated wire here, which I'm going to need to look at more carefully. The connector that it's got to go to, the solder, lump of solder it's actually covered in some araldite or something, or resiny stuff, so it's a little bit hard. I'm hoping we can add a bit of solder to it to join this wire. So let's prep this one first. Help things on its way, on their way. That's sort of out the way. So again, it's a bit of an untidy setup. We'll see if we can tidy it up any more. So now we come down to this little pile of solder here, which should be enough to attach this to. It's very flimsy. Let's see if I can get it to stick on. Sizzle. Okay, that appears to be the business. Now we won't take anything for granted, so we will do a test as always. And come on, thank you. I've got them in the wrong order. Okay, that's fine, don't worry about that. Okay, yeah, they're in the wrong order. Pickups, it was my mistake there, but it means they're both working. So just to be in a pain now, I'm going to have to hoik these out and switch them over, quite literally. No big deal. You go down. This might have now made things a little bit untidier. You go there. You fall off there completely. That goes to there. Goes to there. One. Two. Three. Yeah, so this has definitely turned out to be one of those ancient guitars that the more you work on it, the more problems you find. But, see, you thought you'd get away with that, didn't you? Yeah, I mean, hopefully, with the fact that I've now levelled the frets, got the neck working the way it should, or playing as best as it can be, as good as it can be, hopefully we will enjoy the results of it. This is a bit twisted up here, so let's try and keep these wires out of the way. It's bloody hard to do. Okay, I've got it upside down. Why didn't you tell me I was putting it on upside down? Can you believe it? I couldn't see it from this side. I could just see the poles. It's your fault, it's all your fault. It's your fault. I was thinking, oh no, the cover's dropped off, until I realised it was the wrong way round. Oh. Get under there. I still think this whole process of fitting pickups is incredibly primitive. Look at this. You could even damage that by just running those screws in. Right, so what does it do? It goes down the centre, so straight away this thing really needs grouping down the middle. Not that it's going to want to go down there. I don't really want to handle it too much at all, but let's just put that there for a minute and let's see if we can make it better. So I've got a ton of stuff to do, including a trip down to the salvage place to hopefully get a load of routing, shooting and fishing done, as well as some spraying. We've got to get some routing done on Adam's blue beastie, and also some spraying to cover up the forearm slope and the belly route that I put on it. Though that wasn't kind of planned originally, those things. So, well, I hadn't planned it. I hadn't taken it into account. So it means I could do some wintertime spraying. So I'm hoping that if I can go down to the salvage place and find a little corner without any wind, we might just get lucky. Right, so this is designed to come out the side. Dead hand. It's going to come out the side of here. So this, first of all, this thing is not really helping this original thingy. So this has to somehow, you can either bundle it up. I think the idea is we'll bundle it up under here and send it out the side. It really doesn't matter too much. Let's get that bundled first, and then make the rest play ball afterwards. Now, yeah, this is all we're left with, a big pile of stuff. So we've got, don't want to bend that too much. And this isn't very at all scientific. This is, can we just cluster it into a pile and get it tied down without offending anyone else. So we're kind of going along towards the middle, around the side, out the side, which is a bit. This is now going to tell me. You're going to tell me this is upside down now. It might well be. Having just looked at this, yeah, it is. Everything's upside down. You didn't even spot that, did you? So I've gone and put this on here whilst that was upside down, which will, of course, change everything. Okay, so that comes round to that side, like this. Thank you. And then we get our next little one. So, it still isn't really helping. We'll have to go alongside, or maybe we'll go under. Do we go under? Let's imagine we go under. Go under. So this needs to just, that needs to be there like that. So, I mean, this is just an extremely crude way of doing anything. I'm afraid. Just trying to keep it packed underneath this pickup and mostly out of the way. Which it kind of is. Right, so we've got that in there, we've got that in there. Not that out of the way really, tucked out of the way. Those are where they were. Everything works. There is our ground, but we want another one that's going to go this time to the shield, which wasn't there before but I've added. So we want a bit of room to add that. Not too much actually. So I'll show you the body in a minute as we put it back together again. Oh, and what we'll need for that is a cooperative electrical crimp. They're not called a cooperative electrical crimp. I'm just saying that in a kind of hopeful way that it's going to behave itself. It's not like one of those. That has a different one. I haven't got those. But I have this. But I need not to have the plastic coat on mine. I like to use them naked. So I take off the outside. Let's put some you know what on here. So yeah, this is going to be the bridge, not the bridge, the shield ground. So part of it will go. Thank you, that's really helpful. I do need another device. This is. I can't work with this stuff. I'd love to have a workshop. So this is going to go into there like this. This is going to get squeezed onto there. Get those out of the way. And then this is going to get soldered. And then I'm going to find a little black screw and make a hole in the thingy, shield, and we'll attach that to there. And this will be the last thing we hook up. But I won't do it just yet because it's a pain, and I'd much rather tackle that bit afterwards. This bit goes under the. Now that's not going to ground the bridge at all, is it? Well, yeah, clever idea, was it? No, not really. Let's just lose it. We'll handle both of these things together. So this is meant to be a bridge ground. So let's do it like that. So now for a bridge ground we're going to need a load of exposed copper wire at one end and a shorter solderable lump at the other end. So we'll go with a fairly large amount of copper wire. I'm trying to avoid cutting any of the wire because this not braided, but this thin stranded stuff does cut off very easily or break off very easily. So lose as little as possible. So that's going to go under the bridge. It's going to come down to this soldered end here, providing that's thin enough to go through the tunnel that's already cut for it. It may not be, in which case I'll have to use a different wire, which isn't a problem. So we'll have two things. We'll have another one standing by. Put that over there along with that one, and then let's get a spindly one. Let's get a spindly one. Something like. Doesn't need to be much. In fact, in some ways, the thinner the better. And this is a two-core thing, but we can use the two cores together. There's no problem with that. So let's take a whole load of it at this end. We'll just mix the two together so there's more material. So we've got a shielded or a sheathed wire in there, but we'll just make them into one wire by just cutting through that. There we go. There's our strand, and then we probably don't want too much, but just take enough to be on the safe side. Take that, strip that back, and do the same with the inner one. And we've got a thinner one in case that's what we need. Then next we can pick up the body and we can put this on back in place. Now this pickguard is going to have to go on at a slightly different place than before because of the shrinkage. So this needs to be, we'll just put a bit of tin on here as well, or tin it, sorry. Yeah, this is shrunk, so it's not going to cover everything it covered before. So for it to, the real decider is the position of the pickup holes, and the pickup's got to sit comfortably in there, and these line up with some holes in the body. Now if we want to get into the same place, then it's going to tell us where the sorry about that, didn't mean that to happen. It's just so confusing when you're not expecting that. Right, as we bring the body up, I'm just going to brush for the time being down some bits off there. See, I've got my granddad glasses on, so I actually can't see much. So here's our shielded cavity. And for the purposes of the God, everything's sticking to here because they're metal. So we've got the thing on the end here. So I'm going to attach that. Could even be there. I'm going to attach that to the inside wall of there, which is where the switch isn't, but the pot is. So I'm going to put it about here, and I'm going to screw it in such a way like that. Hammer. And I'm going to do it in such a way that I can get the access to the screw to get it in. Leave that there for a minute. Get me a screw to do the job. I call these my tuner sized screws, but they aren't really. They are just small screws. I'm going to turn this around so I can see it right now. I've done some touch-ups here, but they are nothing exotic. They're just covering up the white basically. So I'm going to put this in here at this sort of angle in the direction of the pickguard. If I can just get that in the starter hole, there we are. Very kind of gently but decisively that goes onto there. So that's grounding out this whole thing. Cavity. I've got some bits of wood floating around in there from cutting things back. Actually, what's amazing is that the paint on this is dried really well. On some substances it just doesn't dry on. Don't know why. Right, so here we have the fun part. Now, we actually want to just get this tape off here because that's not going to be any good to us. Please. Without any damage, please. Thank you. Let me drop that back in there. And then, shouldn't have done that just yet. So the first thing we've got to do is we're going to tag this. We're going to tag this. Damn it. Right, let's let it dangle. It's going to do it. We're going to tag this to the pot, on the edge of the pot, which I'm going to put a bit of solder on there ready. That won't do very well in the finished setup. Thank you. And then we're going to offer this up to there, and they become one happy union. They will, won't they, when there's enough heat. Come on, down you go. Thank you. Lovely. So now that is our grounded thing here, all that nicely done. This is just big enough to go through, so we'll go with the original size and colour. And what happens is this one kind of sits there like that. That's its plan, and that also has to be grounded in a minute, and we can actually ground it to here if we're in the mood to so do. No reason why not. Instead of reaching it, we could reach it over to a pot, but it's all kind of going in the same common earth. Actually, if I was going to do that, I'd want a bit more solder on top of here. Nice, nice, nice. Hopefully this won't, I don't know what the word is, getting in the way of anything. Obstruct. Okay, that jumped away. Lovely. So that's that. We just pull that through to wherever we want it. Now it doesn't need to be this long, and it will, if it does kind of get in the way of the bridge unit, then we might regret it somewhat. I mean, the other way to do that is to very carefully just kind of cut it back here. You probably can get it to come off, because actually that's all. There we go. Come on, off you come. Well, we don't need all of that, so we're just pulling. We're doing extra hard work for now, so let's take it back to what we can actually use, which is more like that, in which case it should be a much easier prospect. There we go. Alright, so a much closer connect. Bro. Okay, so the thing is this would then sit back on there like that, and everything looks hunkily dory, as Ned Flanders might say. Now, what I haven't done, oh right, so we're okay with that. Now we get the fun part, which is that goes back in there, and that goes back on there, and this all sort of goes back in here. And this is the thing that dictates where things sit, really. And if it will happily sit in there, then we'll just know. And for that purpose, we have 4. What are they? Black ones, aren't they? Let's tip all these beauties out, because this is still all part of the game. What are we looking for? We ain't looking for them tuners, that's for sure. We are looking for that. That's going to come in handy. So we're looking for possibly 4 long tall sallies like that, which are in there somewhere. That looks like one, but it's tricking me. It ain't one. That goes there. So does that. That goes with that one. That goes with that one. Right, here's our 4 things. Now we're just going to see how everything lines up in the natural order of things. Let's just get a feel for it. Because once that's in, as long as that just kind of goes in, then we'll work off that for the rest of the fit. That feels about right. Yeah, we're a bit short on here now. It's pulled back a little tiny bit to have that in the right place with it all flattened out, which I'm cool about. It's only a small disjunction. So that's happy, that's good. That's telling us where things should be. It's all good, it's all good. That's done up, that's all good. And here is our lovely. Now, all I was going to do, we don't need to solder anything else. We do have some drills to do, we need some new screws to go in there. All I was going to do with this was try and clean it, but I'm actually not convinced it needs taking apart. Partly because I don't really know its overall working, so I'm going to give it more of just a quick rub down than anything else. Much as I'd in another universe we could maybe, another time, we could be friends. That's what they always say in the war films, isn't it? I respect you, Englander. Your pilot skills are supreme. Perhaps in another time and another place, you and I could even have been friends. Sure thing, Fritz. I'm sorry, that's wartime comic book racism. Do you remember, who remember in the English-speaking world, who remembers growing up with those comic books, those commando stories? It's terrible. It's all I ever knew about history in those days. No, it's not true. I used to read encyclopedias and stuff, but they were a popular format, and they did, even then they did have a sort of, a kind of, they imbued a sense of soldierly nobility, you know, where you respected a brave enemy, no matter what the political kind of overlords were doing or whatever they stood for. If your enemy fought with courage and decency, you treated him thus, with respect. So those comics were full of grudging respect for the Africa Corps, and vice versa, or the other way around, with grudging respect for Rommel's desert rats. No, Monty's desert rats. You know what I mean. Yeah, it was a funny old world of indoctrination. Okay, so look, what we have here now is time to put back on the bridge. Cool, everything's going well so far. I have to fill the strap button holes with very big chunks of dowel, because that's not good. Hold on. Oh, Shostakovich. Now, hold on. Oh, they didn't tell me that was going to happen, did they? No, mate, they didn't. So this is the intonation thing. How in holy heaven's name do you get that out to adjust it? What's going on here? Okay, it's a screw that runs the whole way along there. Oh please. Oh please. Say to me. You let me be your Stan. Come on. This is where I need my Chinese screwdriver set standing by. Can I really? Do I really? No. Surely not. But the only other way is to get this out. That's no way. No way to treat a lady. I've got a problem here. So, well, I've got a problem because that's folded off. Oh, yikes. It's because you know why it's fallen off? Because it was right at the end of its travel and it's fallen off. So, take that one out as well. So, change of plan. What did I say about this thing just becoming more difficult as time goes by? Every second, every step of the way. Oh my lordy. So, basically, there is no way of adjusting the intonation on this when this thing is strung, or you've got to be sure of it first, right? Which is totally messing things up here. Which means, from another angle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the neck back on, and I'm going to measure the scale length, and I'm going to just mark out the scale length. I mean, I can't assume it was intonated before. There's no particular reason why it wouldn't be, but I'm not going to assume it was. So I'm going to mark up the scale length, and I'm going to double check off that. And with the idea that we at least check that we're against that, but I've still got to get this thing off in order to replace that saddle, which is bizarre. Did I say it was a good bridge? Ah, why didn't you tell me? Honestly. What are you any good for if you don't warn me when I do stupid things? I don't know why I have you in here with me. I pay you minimum wage. More than minimum wage. I pay you 5 times minimum wage. And you don't even remind me that I've darn well forgotten to put the shim on. And I don't mean Perez, the former, whatever he was, Israeli minister. Now, I was thinking it was a little bit, oh God, under, these hurt, don't use those. They hurt because my nose, the bridge of my nose is getting bonier as I get older. And so yeah, no, sympathy. It's getting bonier as I get older, and as a result, I'm going to put 2. Now 2's too much, but it's very small. It's very thin. Yeah, you know 2's better than faffing about with this. Yeah. As I get older, my nose gets bonier. No, that's too thick. That's more than 2 of those. That's more like it. Yeah, so those old glasses, no, those Grandad close-up zoom glasses seem quite clumsy, uncomfortable. So, they're good for close-up soldering, of course, but I'd like to get them done off after that because they hurt my poor bony little nose. Some of you from a certain age group will remember the Steve Martin film. Is it the Jerk, where he accidentally invents the OptiGrab, which stops your glasses slipping off your nose. That film made me laugh as a young person. He grows up a poor black kid, if you remember, whilst being obviously white. And nobody notices he's a white kid in a black family, a poor black family in the deep south, and then the only time he discovers is when he realises the blues makes him feel depressed. So he realises something must be wrong with him. He doesn't enjoy it. It just makes him feel depressed. And then he discovers ragtime or big band music or something, swing. And suddenly that's the best music ever. Which is where he realises he's different from everybody else. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just going to, this will make it thicker, obviously. In fact, one piece of this sticky stuff would have made it thicker, but I think we can afford to go beyond that. Just trying to get this undone. I'm going to stick these two together just so they don't fall apart all the time. Why not? In fact, we could stick it together and stick it to the heel as well, which would solve several problems, but that would add another thin layer of sticky stuff to the mix, which, to be honest, I think we've got the room for anyway. We've got the leeway, because it was just about at its lowest action and there was still no room to play. Actually, this is very thin. This isn't the stuff I use for the template holding. This is actually very difficult to line these two things up. Try that. It's not perfect. Should I put... Have I just sliced my finger, or is that just some other sticky stuff? That's some other sticky stuff. Thank goodness. Let's put a bit of this on the back of there and stick that down as well. Yeah, 8 years ago Facebook told me. 8 years ago I was wandering around on my own in New York. Back in the days when I worked in the corporate world a bit. I know, can you imagine me working in a corporate world? I can't. I can hardly. Yeah, but 8 years ago I got the chance to stay in New York after a business trip, and the sort of business finished and everybody went back to their various countries, and because it was a kind of global get-together. Was it a global one? Maybe they were, no, I think it was an America's one, so they were North and South America anyway, and they cleared off back to their different home countries, dang nations, and I got to stay behind, and because of the saving money on not travelling on the weekend, I saved a bit of money for the company, and I got to stay in the hotel, keep the hotel room over the weekend, and which basically gave me the chance to go exploring, which was wonderful. And it's one of those very, very strange places that I'd never been to before. I think I'd been through it on a kind of Greyhound bus years and years and years ago, and I'd seen it at a distance from the bus, but I'd never stopped in it, and it was quite astonishing, a really amazing experience. And I'm sort of, to this day, I'm still in two minds about it. I both loved it and not scared me, but gave me chills and thrills in equal measures. I think the first thing that struck me about it was that if you've grown up in the Western world, probably anywhere in the world, for some reason New York is sort of, we all have a cultural memory of it because of films, and I suppose that applies to things like other cities that have featured in filmmaking. So Paris, you know, London, Paris, New York, Munich, you know what I'm saying. So the kind of thing when if you ever go there for the first time, you really do get this amazingly strong impression that you know it, although of course you know you don't know it, and it sort of kind of belongs to you in a sort of, you know, you have your own memory of it through films, which is very strange. Now, having done all of that, I am no closer. What did I put that on for? Because I wanted to measure the length of this. Any closer to fixing the bridge saddle back on? Nope. Anyway, yeah, so you kind of have this weird experience that you realise you know it in a funny sort of way, while you of course can't really know it, but you sort of feel like you do, and all the Kojak things you watched when you were a kid in the 70s, if you're my age. And so that's a really weird thing, to go to a place that you don't really truly know. So this is 320, nearly 324, only just 324 actually. Now I'm going to have to fudge this a little bit because I can't reach across all the way. So we go to, holy moly, 648 in as near a straight line as I can go. So there's our nominal scale length marker that we need to check, because if it's difficult as it appears to be to get to the saddles on here. I don't want to be doing this more than once. Oh, right, okay. Let us see how far off the original is, if at all. So we drop that in there, line it up with the holes, and we say that we're probably a bit forward of the mark, if anything, fractionally. So we're going to need to do an adjustment anyway, ideally, but how in Harry's name do we do it? Oh, blimey. Can we take the springs off? Well, are they slack at the moment? You know, guess you didn't want to have to do this. I mean, they may be slack, they may not. Alright, there's a spring rolling around, which has come off that one. If we were to go, we can't go any further that way, that's stopped. How is it stopped? What does it hit? Don't know. Why doesn't it go any further? What's it hitting against it, blimey? Kind of coming to a natural halt. I think I'm going to have to take these springs off, aren't I? Damnations. Yes, so anyway, I got to explore New York, which was such a thrill, because I sort of didn't quite expect it. You know, it was a bit of a lucky break. Right, oh my word. Oh my word. Right, that comes all the way up there. That's well cool, man. That is a free falling object. What the heck's in there? Is that some sort of screwy thing? I couldn't tell you. Alrighty. Is it? There's a great big... Oh, blimey. I have no idea what's going on here. There's a big loose thing which comes down and pokes onto a rusty old thing, which then attaches to that thing, and it all holds together, baby. Who loves you, baby? So, your guess is probably as good as mine. How in my grandfather's name would I be able to do this? Adjust these. Has somebody ever written a blog on, hey, don't you just love those Kahler tremolos? Yeah, you can't intonate them no matter what you do. So that is hopefully some sort. Yep, it's got an adjustable screw head on there. But unless I get this off, then that is not going anywhere. And how would I get this off? Well, now the spring is off it, I could probably get it off the spindle, couldn't I? Sure thing, Sam. What kind of screw would it be? I bet it would be a slotted screw. Yeah? No way, Sam. Oh my lordy. Right. There's so much fuzz in here, you can't see what it is. Hex key. Do we think? Yes, but not that big. Other hex key. Where did it go? No way. No and no. Okay, maybe it's bigger than that. I don't think it's going to be an American issue, isn't it? Right, let's try our American issue. Imperial. Aha. Oh my lordy. What's going on? Something's turning. Oh gosh. Something's coming out. Stand by. There must be something that comes out at this end. It's a sin. There's a hex screw at either end. Possibly then. My goodness. Yep. Uncharted territory. Right, that's now drops out. Fab! Oh. Now we stand no chance at all. Tell me. Tell me, how does that adjust on there? Oh come on, this is a joke. No screw bit, a sort of barrel, like a bullet ended thing that drops through there, and we know that this thing has to be sat on there to some distance. My humour is not going to last long, so I push that through up to there, well, with the spring on, of course. Don't tell me there's not even a screwdriver thing. I'm having to turn this by hand. There's no other gross general adjuster. Gross general, you know what I mean. So I'm pushing it all the way back so I can at least turn it, stand a chance of turning it with my fingers. Hey look, that's holding, sort of. Is that it? Is that how you do it? That's terrible. I cannot believe it. There's no... I mean, these things, that bar there, I mean, there's another bar that these would... What would they do? Drop out? Or would they pull back en masse if you turn this? I don't see it. That bar is... That bar isn't... It's not even a cam. I mean, it doesn't do anything. It spins the bar, right? Yeah, that's no surprise. We'll drift it out. Here we go. We'll take the whole thing apart. Remember, I wasn't going to do this. But look, so we take this axle out of this thing. What's going to happen is this whole unit will come off, right? Well, that's fine. We get that. Here it comes. Out comes the unit. Hey, folks. I mean, again, that's no real surprise, but there's still no means of adjusting these. It's not even like a pre-compensated thing, right? The idea is you would set, let's say, set them in a stagger pattern, and then you'd kind of do something that pulled the whole lot back. This just doesn't do it. There's no adjustment at all. So if we were to imagine that was our start point, then we have to then go down, push this one in, and go, right, there's our stagger. We'll guess our stagger, right? Then we push down the G and we hand, oh no, we can't hand turn it, I guess. Oh, we can. So look, we've got our stagger between the E and the G, looks about right. And then we forward a bit on this one, that one's okay. But the E isn't okay, so we'll tighten that one up a bit too. A bit more. I mean by hand, or at best we get one of those little gripper things, which I had somewhere. It's over here. I mean, you know, come on. Hey, really? This is so clumsy. Okay, so look, I've got a good spread, two set, and that's probably too far forward. So let's take that back a bit. Do up. Do up. So it should only be fractionally forward of the G. I mean, just guessing at this point. Can you imagine taking this apart every single time to go, no, that wasn't quite right. Let's go back and do all of this again. Let's take all of these things apart. Let's drift out all of that, those components. I mean, you can tell I've gone off this bridge already. Okay, there's our stagger. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's have a look at that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Similar proportion of staggeration. Oh look, while this is out, let's clean it off or something. See how thrilled I am at the prospect, can't you? It's exactly what I didn't want to have to do. So every step of the way. I know I should probably take a close-up of this too, while it's all in pieces, so I can moan about it. And then some clever soul will come back and go, no, don't you get it? This thing adjusts by means of the overhead doofer thingy that does the widget, wodget, bibble bobble thing, you know. Like, oh yeah, of course it does. I bow my head to your greater knowledge. Thanks. Yeah, loads of pieces. Didn't want to have to do it, but I've gone and done it. Boing. Now let's just enjoy. This is the means of adjustment. Yes, folks. A barrel-ended thing with no visible means to adjust it. That is what you're stuck with. You really are. Whether you likes it or not. What time is it? It's 14:45. I'm going to stop in 15 minutes. So it's all, you know, it's all very cool and stuff with the little ball bearings in there. And this goes through to a thing that, is that an overall action set? Could be. Let's have a look. Push that down. Overall, no, that's going to down, up. That's going to, what's this going to do? Pray tell. It's not going to do anything if it doesn't go in. So that doesn't accept a hex key. Is it perchance Phillips? No. Is it perchance? And according to this, it's a nothing. And I can't see a darn thing. So there's a thing down in here, which is the arm. Is that the arm? I've lost track now. Yeah, it must be. Yeah, the arm. Is this a blocking thing? I mean, maybe. It'll be something to do with how it sits there. Can't go any further down. Well, it's not attached to anything. Alright, the spring's attached to that. It's, right, it's a lock it down or something, but the problem is I cannot make it connect to one of these. Ah, okay, that one connects. Right, let's put it back where it was. So this, once the thing's on, this will raise or lower. It's the back end. That will tilt back or something. Who goshing well knows? I jolly don't. Still doesn't explain anything useful about having this thing. No, it doesn't explain anything useful at all about this individual intonation malarkey. Now I just completely messed this up. That locks in there and doesn't go any further. So this, how do we do it? Did that go through there? That did go through there, didn't it? So this must go in there. No, that must go through there. And then somehow it must go in there, but it won't. Holy characteristics. That won't go through there, will it? No, because that's got a screw in that end. But that's screwing in that end. Right, screw. That's better, thank you. I thought I'd gone mad for a minute. Come the right way. Okay, down we go. All the way through there. Out the other end. That's about. Yeah, who knows? That's the weirdest intonation arrangement I've ever seen. And so the idea is that this theoretically can tilt up or down, or why is it I mean, does it I guess it allows it to tilt so you can set the action here, but Absolutely weird. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Right, this one goes in there. Wonderful. So it's just a guess on the intonation, which is a very peculiar state of affairs actually. Never could have imagined something like that would be how it works. So, ooh, no springs yet. So this tightens it up, and you could probably just lock it by tightening these up. That's interesting. It doesn't quite fit in line anyway. Flush with there, not flush with there. Pushing it out, pushing it out. Okay, loose. Loose, 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 loose. Bit of movement. Bit of movement. Okay. Interesting. Over the top we go with these here springs. Slack them off a little bit. Bring them over the top. On top of the brass what's it, if I can. Now why is that not playing ball? Or put it another way, how did I not get to there before? Why was it difficult to reach? Was it difficult to reach? Over the top. I see. Can't do two of them at once, eh? That didn't really work. It was a good try. Why is that stopped out of the way now? This seems harder than it needs to be. I don't remember it being that stretched out before, I have to say. So, the only thing I can think of then is, wrong one, it's this one, isn't it? What do we need to do? Take this down. Okay, take this down, and guess what? I can reach them, probably. But that kicks up, shouldn't. That's weird. Why is it making such a problem? Because that's sticking up. And it wasn't before. Why is it sticking up? Because it's moving. That's fine. So it should be allowed to move. And it presses down, that will come further forward. Okay, let's put it in line with that one at least. So stretching it is quite tricky. How am I going to do that? Okay, that's how I'm going to do it. There is enough room, it's just a little bit difficult to see. One. Two. One. Two. Okay, so wind this out a bit, and that pushes that out to there, which I think, cool, makes it stiffer. Yeah. Okay, it's interesting. Drop it down again under the spring load, and we've got something like that. Spring stiffness. Fair enough. Right. So after all of that, we've arrived at a guess about intonation, which is pretty darn stupid, if I may be so bold. And we are now ready to attach it to the guitar and hope, because actually I don't really see much point playing around with it after this, because if it, see, look, that's still got to be, oh Lordy, that really is barely on the line for intonation. If I'm looking at strictly by scale, by size, when I'd be bothered to take all that apart. There is absolutely no way of altering this other than spinning these round, if possible, on their things like that, but they're not designed to do that. Wait a minute. What have we got? Have we ever got something for you? Let's have a look here. This is this is hard work. It really is. I got a suspicion that there might not even be a small enough thing to do this with. Well. At least that's but no, it's, how will that work? Because there's nothing to hold it in place. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Okay. See? I figured it out. Finally. Oh, well, that was enjoyable taking it apart anyway. Right. There we are. Fraction back from the side. Right. Good. So the way it's done is these very almost invisible hex keyholes in the front of the little screws. And you basically drag the whole thing round and tighten it up. Wow. Neat. Do I take back my whinging about this bridge? To some degree, yes. Oops, wrong way. Counterclockwise to tighten it up. Would you ever have thought of it? And the reason I didn't see it was partly because they're completely gummed up with dirt and maybe a bit of rust. But I'm now tweaking this to what I think is a good start point. And somehow, how you'd actually get to this, other, you know, with your bare hands to make an adjustment with when the strings are on, is anybody's guess. Because you'd have to go underneath there, underneath the pickup, underneath there where the string is. You wouldn't want to be doing it. That's a back jack. Anyway, best we've got. Probably could have done with a bit of grease on there or something, WD-40 even, but well, we're making progress. That's the jolly good thing. Progress, I tell ya. Okay, let's just have a. These are really standing tall now. Seems a bit too tall for the game we're playing here. Yeah, we can bring them down. I don't know how they got to look so tall. Could that have moved? This hasn't moved anywhere. That's the same angle it was. They've got to come down some. Anyway, that's fine. Right. I left some strings there. They haven't got tuners on yet, so that's another point. So we've got to keep that handy. That's vital too. That's a size that isn't supplied either. Hey. So we're sort of finding ourselves with whole sets of things that need different sized keys. Right, that's the next thing. Let's get this thing back on, locking nut unit back on. We want our two little screws, which are there and there. We want our screwdriver, which is there. Take the pressure back, the torque, and get that on there, like so. That one in there, then we'll put the tuners on. That there and that there. Good, nicely placed. Fab. I'll keep that out for a second. That can go out of the way. In a minute. We're done with that and that and that. Lid on, under here, out the way. Yeah, we're going to go out in a bit, so just going to wind this down and finish the rest of it later. What was I going to do with this? Oh yes, the tuners. Yes, so anyway, back to my long boring story. So I found myself in New York of a winter's day. 8 years ago, thanks to Facebook. Wouldn't know it if it hadn't been for Facebook, of course. But it was an amazing 2 days I had there. I had the weekend, and so the Friday night, it was a very powerful feeling of everybody leaving, going off back to their home countries, and me staying on my own in this huge hotel in Times Square, the Marriott, I think it was. But it was big, brash sort of place, Times Square, with all the cameras and advertising things going on. Cameras, screens is what I meant. Anyway, so I can't remember what first night I was there. I think I walked around Times Square and had a look around, and just got a feel for the place. And then the next day I took a walk, in a straight line from the hotel down to the river, where the I think it was the SS Intrepid is moored, and I'm such a plonker. You know what I've just gone and done? You didn't tell me either. I've just gone and done 2 of those. Right. Let's just see. I keep interrupting myself because I'm losing track. I put the wrong shims in, didn't I? I put 2 of those copper ones when I should have put in the other ones. So let's just try and see if I can make this line up. Wrong size. Where's it gone? Hello. US of A style Yeah, if necessary, I'll take it out and put the other one in. Damn it, I wasn't paying attention. Anyway, yes, so I went, the next day I went, and on the Saturday I went and walked to the, all the way down this, I don't know, whatever it was, 34th Avenue or something, down to the river where the aircraft carrier was, and had a look at the Air Museum on there, which was absolutely full of fantastic Cold War and other type aircraft. Okay, so that's interesting. So this thing here brings these out at an angle. Do we get to adjust that angle? Yeah, it gets pushed back depending on the angle of all the other ones. That's a bit unnecessary. I don't see the point of that. I really don't. Yeah, so why? I tell you why. So this bar is stopping moving because of the other ones being so high up, so I can't actually, as yet, I can't actually test this, the angle, whether I need to change the shims again. Anyway, I shall just carry on, oblivious. So yeah, I went and saw the airplanes, and then from that point on I was feeling really adventurous, so I walked all the way down Hudson River to the, I guess where at the time they were rebuilding or getting ready to rebuild the World Trade Center, which even then was a very odd experience, very strange to be where you knew that terrible thing had happened. Anyway, I went from there down to the Staten Island ferry and took a trip out onto the water to see the Statue of Liberty and so on. Oh yikes! So this smaller shim I've used, it's got a kind of reduced. It's at the lowest. It's working at the lowest height, but it's interesting. This won't sit at any other angle. Can't make it sit lower. I don't see why it's at that angle. Shouldn't be the way it is. I don't know if adjusting this anymore will allow me to rotate it or anything, but I mean, kind of sits where it sits. There's horizontal is as far as it will go. Yeah. Okay, so if that will work from there, then I'll leave it. Otherwise, I'll go back and put in a different shim. Anyway, so that's actually, I would say that's about as low as I want it to go. Oh yeah, that's a millimetre. That's as low as I want it to go. So this shim will do. Any shim will do, but I still need to drop the legs down till they touch the ground. Right. Anyway, so yeah, it was a long walk. Didn't realise how long it was, and I remember going off to on the ferry across and seeing the Statue of Liberty, and it was brutally cold. I mean, it wasn't compared to New York standards, but for Englishmen in New York standards, it was cold. And so I went around the harbour, saw the Statue of Liberty, and then came back and walked all the way up Broadway, I think, past the Empire State Building, which I got to see up close, sort of, and then back to the hotel, and it was knackering, but very pleased to get back. Kind of conked straight out. And the next day I went the opposite direction, went up to Central Park, which was kind of great to see something that you've heard about and maybe seen in loads of films. And for me, I remember Central Park from Simon and Garfunkel in about, was it 1983 or 2, when they did a concert in Central Park. I don't know, I can't remember if they'd been split up for a while or something, but they got back together for this concert, and I have fond memories of listening to that. In fact, it was I remember watching it on a Betamax video, which was one of the very first ever video devices around, and it was quite something to actually see and hear music on a thing you could replay. Before that, you'd only ever heard music on cassettes, which was kind of pretty amazing technology in itself. Yeah. But, yeah, so I went into Central Park, and it felt like being in a Simon and Garfunkel song, and then I had some guitar playing, and I went under this subway sort of bit into the road, and there was an Asian guy playing. I guess it could have been a Baby Taylor or a Little Martin, and he was singing Slip Sliding Away by Paul Simon, but he was singing it so incredibly out of tune. It was amazing. I took a bit of video and I look back on it sometimes and I can remember just how out of tune he was, but I didn't mind because it was the right song for the right moment, you know. And sometimes you just can't get any better than that, even if it was perfectly in tune. So then from there I went up to the was it the Metropolitan Museum? The big museum in the park, anyway. And that was amazing too. But I think by the time I got there I was so tired that it was all I could do to get round it and get my money's worth, feel like I hadn't just conked out through exhaustion. Right, one of these, one of those, and one of those. But yeah, it was a great free weekend, unexpected free weekend. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these strings back on. Why? Because I'm going to use them to tweak the action. Just make sure the action works and the bridge works and stuff, having taken it quite a lot apart. It's going to be quite difficult to get the strings unpicked. Oh my god, it's 3:15 now. Yeah, the trouble with this is you have to, in order to reuse the strings, you've definitely got to straighten them out, or else you'll never get them out of this mess they're currently in. Bird's nest. Yeah, it was one of the real perks of those days, going places on business, being able to occasionally sort of say to the customer, do you mind if I take a day here or a day there, and it didn't cost you any more. So it's a real thrill to just find yourself enjoying seeing somewhere as part of what you were doing. A real perk. So got quite a few of those over the years, I'm pleased to say. I miss that, being able to visit places on somebody else's dollar. But it's, you know, it's one of the upsides of playing the corporate game. Oh Christ. These things get hooked up to everything you don't need them to get hooked up to, including a big mess down here, which has now probably ruined my chances of reusing these strings. Anyway, the last one, what was the last one I went on, was in 2016. I got a chance to do a kind of job independently, and went to Spain and Munich and Paris. So that was quite nice. Back and forwards to Paris from Exeter Airport was a nice little jaunt. It's just so convenient, and it was nice too because I was sort of running that one independently of the company that I'd stopped working for, so I kind of got an extra little gig. And it's funny because there was a part of me thinking, oh, I'd really like to do some more of this, but another part of me just wasn't sure I could face the corporate stuff, and partly because what I realised is that even, hard to describe, but even with the work I was doing, the whole thing, I was interested in helping sort of the business leaders treat their, I suppose you could say, treat their people better and tell them, keep them better informed on what was going on in the company. And they kind of wanted that to some degree, but in a way they also wanted, I mean, ultimately they had the big god of increased profit was sacrosanct, you know, and ultimately everything they did had to relentlessly grow the business, and that relentlessly pressured the people that I was working with, and you know, the truth is it wasn't a very honest setup. Well, that's not true, hang on. So the leaders I worked with, the company leaders I worked with, wanted to treat their people better up to a point, and of course that point came to the point at which it conflicted with relentless growth and profitability for this year and so on. So there was when it came to the crunch, it didn't really hold much water, very sadly. Now I think this string isn't going to meet, it's not long enough because I used them the wrong way around. So I've got to find a spare 9, which I just seem to have run out of at this point. Yeah, there's a 9 in there, I suppose. But I could have used a whole new set of these because I might as well have done. Now I'm going to pinch the 9. Maybe there's 2 of these. Yes, there. Heck. Yeah. Anyway, so you know, I did think of, you know, could I do more of this? Yeah, there are 2. Look at that. Thank you. Could I do more of this kind of work? And when it came down to it, I just thought to myself, I don't think I can. You know, to me, there are more important things than just profit. And unfortunately, in a lot of the corporate growth infested, growth obsessed world, if you think like that, actually you are at odds with it. It's as simple as that. You know, increased growth is always the holy grail, and you find out when it comes to it that stands above everything else, and it's pretty demoralising eventually. I mean, I know there are a couple of companies in the world where they've actually genuinely turn things around so that their staff and customers come first, and even at the expense of the scale of profitability. But they are reasonably few and far between, and certainly not any of the ones I worked with. Still, but it was enjoyable up to a point. Come on, get in there. No, that's not even going round, it's the wrong size. What's it? Oh, I lost my mind. I think I have. Yes, I have. Thank you. Anyway, yeah. So I think the places I went to Singapore, Hong Kong, Richmond, New York, Washington. So this is now pulled this down flat. Okay, now that's too low. So I still, yeah, I should be able to get enough height out of that. That's fine. Yeah, so it's great for getting around and about. Now I'm wondering at this point in time whether this is coming up. Is it coming up? Yeah, it is. Not an awful lot. So I guess this might actually be that thing I adjusted was the strength of the springs, which you can't see from above, but you can see from underneath when it's off, which we don't have to do. So let's see what happens if I undo this. Oh yeah, that comes up. So how we get it to where we want it is anyone's guess, because I've moved it away from its original position now, which is a bit of a pain. So let's see if I can get it back to somewhere close to where it needed to go. Let's put some height on this. Get in there. Now obviously I'm going to need to make adjustments with the tuning device. Why has that got so much effects and stuff on? You don't need all of that. So we plug in and we use this to tune up. Okay, so I'm looking at that and I'm just trying to work out, is that going forwards or backwards? Hard to tell. It doesn't really matter too much as long as it has a good range of forwards and backwards movement. That's the main thing. Just getting these up to a reasonable action so we're not starting right on the deck. Millimeters, yeah, 1.5 down there. Flattish. I haven't worked out exactly at this point in time what the up and down bit here really is for, other than to change the range of action you get from going backwards on this tremolo. But so I'm going to put these a fair bit in, because we've learned that locking these down actually causes the pitch to go up. So we need that bit of range to go down once we've locked it. Okay, that's happy where it is. Let's now lock these down, expecting it to go increase in tune, or in pitch, sorry. That's not on the bleeding roller. Now the crucial bit, intonation. Short, as I expected. So that's how I expected it to be, but the problem is I can't get into there and send this back, so we had to go counterclockwise to make it come back. Can we reach in there? Oh heck, can we not? Can we reach in there? Get in? Maybe. Yeah. Very little movement available to us. It's going back a bit. I guess I'm just going to going to get this as the start point if I can, while it's still strung up. And if I can get this right, then we'll take the visual start point off the others. Too short. Can I get this in here? Will it go in? See, the problem is it's at an angle going over the pickup like that. And I'm going backwards, counterclockwise, which should be the correct way to adjust this. And it's slow. It is going back. I can see the difference. I have to work on the others. Fair old bit. Is it this one? Can I do it with this one in? Possibly, maybe. Oh, maybe. The little ball thing. Is that even doing anything? Ugh. Am I even going in the right direction? Counterclockwise. you said did the right thing, right? I'm managing to get about a quarter of a turn each time, if that. And is it going backwards? Very slightly. See, this gets pushed back, and that's deceiving. Still sharp. So, I mean, really, it's just going to be easier to take the string off and do this, but quite honestly, then we won't know where we're starting from. So I think I'd rather try and do this with at least this one in place, and then hopefully we can go from there on the other ones. Very slowly creaking backwards. Sounds like quite a bit of movement needed. We are at least turning in the right direction. The strange intuitive counterclockwise appears to be right. I mean, this thing, believe it or not, you can actually push it back. Let's just try it. Push back first of all. Yeah. Wow. Spot on. Right, and that's quite a way back. Right, well, I'm going to mark that up with a piece of tape. And that's quite a reposition as far as the other piece, or the other saddles go. So we've got to get back to, I guess we're going to go off the top. So the center, dead center of the roller. In fact, I'm going to draw it on here as well. Dead center of the roller, as far as I can see. Yep. Right, well, I guess the smart thing to do next would be to ditch these strings, screw in these screws, load up new strings, and then while they're off, get this redone. Really, the simplest way would be to take that unit off again, take the bridge off again, and do it with it held up where I can actually get to it. But it's a pain in the what's it. So we're going to do with tens actually on the final thing, so it should pull a little bit more relief into the neck anyway. Okay. Oh, goodbye strings, and thank you for your service. So, talk about the Italy. Oh my lord, oh goodness. Well, we got to keep on doing it till we're done. Now that has caught on there, that's all right. A pile of strings. Ow. They always manage to hurt you, no matter what's going on. So, given all of this messing around that we've been doing, Sort of makes sense now. If I could even find, so much as find one of these, thank you. We'll take this off again and we'll just pull them back to the mark. Not something I really want to do, take it off too many more times, but it's going to be much simpler. Now that's quite an extreme displacement of these, so it's quite a movement. So yeah, we're going to end up with some very squashed springs. Now I'm presuming that the high E string intonated correctly. That's a guess, or a hope, wishful thinking. Actually, we should be alright. It's not going to be too bad. It's just going to pull in further than we had expected. So this is much easier than trying to do it with the strings on and with the bridge flat. And finally the low E. Thank you for being a helpful little hex key. Just about the limit before it starts runs out of spring room. Okay, right, there we go. So all things being equal, I'm going to just redo this for now, and then we'll put the strings on later. Yeah, now go and get ready for, tidy up a bit and get ready to go over to my dad's. So this weekend I've got 2 strats to do. Ron's American USA strat, I'm going to make a new nut and reposition the strings down the neck. He's been unhappy with the way that the original nut, basically Fender prioritised an even amount of real estate either side of the outer strings, and the result of that was that it centered, the D and G string were off center of the dots, which were themselves in the right place, but it looked ugly, and Ron couldn't really ever find somebody who explained to him why that was the situation, and I was able to kind of help him get clear about that by just measuring it very closely and seeing what the nut did. So he had a choice really. When we figured out what was going on, we had a choice between if he wanted equal real estate for both low and high E, then he would have to have the nut spacing would kind of guarantee that it was off center, or we could redo it and we could still have the D and G central on the dots, but then we would shift it so that the high E had a greater real estate, which was a better way of doing it. Just before I finish, I'm going to put on some clean old pickguard screws. I don't want brand new ones, which I actually don't think we've got any anyway, so let's see what we've got here. I need some pickguard screws that are decent, nothing too special, and I'm going to drill some more holes to accommodate said pickguard screws. kind of one that can go. That's melted, rotten, horrible. So this is a sort of, hopefully, standard size pickguard screws. Pile of them, and we're going to use the pickguard to tell us where they're going to be now. So I'm going to just pick the right diameter of bit, which should be, that's 2.26, 2.5, so 2.5. We probably just as well be. Actually, it's saying it's three on the threads, so 2 would be enough, or 2.5 if we want an easy life. Don't forget we're going into softwood filled thing, so I'm going to go 2. So you just have that slightly better grip, a little bit more force required. So first one in the centre. Fairly decent clean pickguard screw. Yeah, nice. Down this end. Nice. It's great to have got rid of all that buckling. It was terrible. Horrible mess. Actually, one of the things when doing something like this, its tendency is for the thing to wander off, so the drill to wander off at the beginning. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a tap with a thing to make a starter hole right where I want it, because otherwise, say you can run the risk of the drill going off, especially if you filled it with some new material. It kind of goes where it feels like the old hole was. So I'm just going to sort of help it avoid that. Or try anyway, give it a start point. Right bang in the centre, and on this one it's right on the line of the old screw hole, so hopefully that will give it a help to go in the way I want it to go. Yeah, I think so. That's the way. That should be most, if not all of them. Bit worn. So you can see from the shrinkage, there's a little bit pulled back here at the neck joint, but hardly nothing to really worry about. Still looks pretty good. A few more still to do. Yeah, improvement. Great improvement on that horrible crumpled thing we were working with before. one more. Decent one, yeah. Wow, that's quite a lot of work this thing's taken, that's for sure. Okay. White thing. That's amazing. That's flat as compared to what it was. It was an absolute mess. A little bit of a push up there, but comparatively good. Okay, I think that should be it for now. Everything is good. That's in place. That's where it should be. Come back to setting the actions of those a bit later. It's probably too high. Yeah, well, we'll come back to that. Okay, I think that's it for now. That's the only a bit of buckle we've got in the whole thing. I'm alright with that. That's as good as it's going to be, I'm afraid. These were a bit tight before, so let's just hope they work. Pull, push, good. That one just on and stay on, thank you. What I probably will do just now is I'll get the strap buttons on while we're doing drilling things, and then I'll be able to put everything away. So we're going at it again, fairly soft wood, so we're going to have to bear that in mind. This diameter, screw thread diameter up here is 3.5, so we want 2.5 at the most. Give it some bite. And so we're going into here, hopefully at a kind of angle. Let's give it a tap as well. Go in at the right sort of angle, so that it doesn't risk coming through. It shouldn't do in terms of the length of the thing, but it's got to be at the right angle on this. It's quite particular. So just give it a starter point, and I'm going to get it to go in at the right angle. Which I think is pretty good. Now we need a couple of felts, which amazingly I'm nearly out of. We can source some more. These very old-fashioned, long, tall, whatchamacallits. Interesting strap button things, very tubular. So we're going to send this into here. That's pretty good. And then same here on this, same at this end, on this very damaged pile of timber. Okay, pretty much ready to be restrung and set up. I mean, the paint blobs, they're just to cover up the white. It's been pretty well bashed around, but that's all it's ever going to be. It's just a little bit of a disguise of the flashing white bits that we used to be able to see. But it should work well. And that should work too. Now I say should, did I test it for, I think I did, but I'll do it again just in case. I'm pretty certain I tested the switch part, just to make sure I had to get it in the right, pickups in the right place. That was the main thing. Tone is working. Right, so this is now working on one, both, front, both. Yep, good. Good, happy with that. You can hang up there, my friend. We're done for now. Time to go get ready for family things and tidy up. See you over the weekend.